Every holiday, my husband's sister insisted she will come with us, until she stood at the airport screaming, "You can't leave without me." I looked at the officer and said, "She's not on the reservation, this is our honeymoon, not a family trip." My husband just looked away. People always say that when you marry someone, you marry their family too. I used to roll my eyes at that. Thought it was one of those cliches that only applied to people with overbearing mothers-in-law or meddling aunts. I was wrong. I didn't just marry Liam. I married Catherine, too. Not literally, of course. But looking back, it might as well have been. Catherine was Liam's younger sister, 4 years younger, to be exact. She had this odd attachment to him, something that felt less like normal sibling affection and more like she believed she had some kind of claim over him. She made it her mission to be involved in every aspect of our lives. At first, I thought it was sweet. A close sibling bond. Nothing to be worried about. But then came our honeymoon. And that was when I realized this wasn't just clinginess. This was something else entirely. I should have seen the signs sooner. Months before our wedding, Catherine started making offhand comments about our trip to Italy. Liam and I had planned a 2-week honeymoon, Rome, Florence, the Amalfi Coast. Just us. A dream trip. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. Then, one night, during a family dinner at his mother's house, Catherine said something that made my stomach tighten. "Oh, I can't wait for Italy," she said, grinning across the table. I had been mid-sip of wine, and I nearly choked. "What?" I asked, setting my glass down carefully. Catherine looked at me like I was the crazy one. "Italy? I've never been. I mean, Liam and I always talked about going together. It's going to be amazing." I turned to Liam, expecting him to immediately correct her. To laugh it off. To say, "Catherine, what are you talking about? This is our honeymoon." But he didn't. He just rubbed the back of his neck and mumbled something like, "I meant someday, someday. Not now. Not on our honeymoon." I should have put my foot down right there. But I didn't. Because Liam was always like this, avoidant, afraid of confrontation, eager to keep the peace. So I let it go, thinking she was joking. But as the weeks passed, it became clear she wasn't. She talked about it constantly. She mentioned restaurants she wanted to try in Rome, museums she wanted to see, and how Mom is so excited for pictures of us all at the Colosseum. Us all. As if she was already part of the itinerary. Liam never explicitly invited her. But he also never told her no. And that, I would come to learn, was a pattern. Then came the airport scene. Liam and I arrived at JFK, checked our bags, and were about to head through security when I heard a voice behind me, a voice that made my stomach drop. "You can't leave without me." I turned, and there she was. Catherine. Luggage in hand. Face red with frustration. "I tried checking in," she huffed, "but they're saying I'm not on the reservation." Because, she wasn't. I stared at her, utterly speechless. "Catherine," I said slowly, "you're not on the reservation." She glared. "Well, obviously, there's been some mistake." The airline employee at the counter, a woman in her 60s with tired eyes, cleared her throat. "Ma'am, only 2 tickets were booked for this flight." Catherine's face twisted in indignation. "No. That's wrong. Liam, tell them." And here was the worst part. Liam didn't immediately shut it down. He just stood there, looking at his shoes, mumbling something useless like, I didn't think she was serious, not serious? She had been talking about this for months. And now she was at the airport, with luggage. And still, Liam wouldn't tell her the truth. Wouldn't say the one sentence that needed to be said, "Catherine, you were never invited." So I did. I turned to the airline employee and said, loud and clear, "She's not on the reservation. This is our honeymoon, not a family trip." Catherine's mouth fell open. "Liam?" He just looked away. And then, she started screaming. Right there, in the middle of the airport. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're choosing her over family. I told Mom this would happen. She said you'd turn your back on us." People were staring. Security was watching. I grabbed Liam's arm. "We're going," I said firmly. And we did. We boarded the plane. Without her. But I knew, even as we settled into our seats, that this wasn't over. Not even close. By the time we landed in Rome, my phone had exploded with messages. Not just from Catherine. From his mother, too. "How could you abandon family like that? Liam, I raised you better. Catherine is devastated. She just wanted to share this moment with you. And the worst part? Liam was actually guilty about it. On the second night of our honeymoon, I caught him sitting on the edge of the hotel bed, scrolling through messages, looking miserable. And that's when it hit me. I didn't just have a Catherine problem. I had a husband problem. Because no matter what I did, no matter how reasonable I was, Liam was never going to stand up to her. She would always come first. I just hadn't accepted it yet. But I would. Soon. And when I did, it would change everything. I should have been enjoying our honeymoon. We had just arrived in Rome, a city I had dreamed about since I was a teenager. The air smelled like espresso and warm bread, and the streets were a blend of history and chaos, ancient ruins standing next to sleek modern buildings. This was supposed to be one of the happiest times of my life. But instead of feeling elated, I felt like I had a third person in my marriage, an invisible presence sitting between us at every meal, whispering in Liam's ear whenever he looked too relaxed. Catherine wasn't here. But she might as well have been. I saw it in the way Liam kept checking his phone. The way he seemed distracted, distant, like he wasn't fully present with me. On our second night, I woke up to the glow of his screen in the dark hotel room. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, reading messages. His shoulders were slumped, his face tense. I propped myself up on my elbow. Liam, what are you doing? He startled like he had been caught. Nothing. Just checking in. With who? He hesitated. Then, Mom. I sat up fully. At 2 in the morning? He sighed, rubbing his temple. She's upset. Catherine's really hurt, and now Mom is saying we should have handled it differently. I stared at him. Handled it how? We told her she wasn't coming, she showed up anyway, and then she threw a tantrum in an airport. Liam looked down at his hands. I know, but she was just excited. She didn't mean to what, Liam? Show up with luggage? Make a scene? He sighed again. I don't want to fight about this, okay? And there it was. That same phrase he had used every time I tried to talk about Catherine. I don't want to fight. Translation? I don't want to deal with this. And if I bring it up again? I'll be the problem. I laid back down, staring at the ceiling, feeling a pressure in my chest that I couldn't name yet. I turned away from him, pulling the covers up. Good night, Liam. I didn't say another word. When we got back from Italy, I had a tiny hope that maybe Catherine would be embarrassed enough to pull back. Maybe she'd realize she had overstepped. Maybe she'd finally start respecting boundaries. That was wishful thinking. If anything, it was worse. She barely acknowledged me. She acted like I had personally banished her from her brother's life. She started making snide comments when Liam wasn't around, little digs disguised as casual remarks. Must be nice, having Liam all to yourself. Some of us don't get that luxury. Or, you're lucky. He used to tell me everything, but I guess that's over now. It was subtle. Just enough to sound harmless if I ever brought it up to Liam. And he was blind to it. Or maybe, deep down, he didn't want to see it. Then came Thanksgiving. Our first as a married couple. I had imagined us starting our own traditions. Cooking together in our apartment, maybe inviting a few friends over, keeping things small and intimate. But Liam's mother had other plans. She expected us at her house, no exceptions. We always do Thanksgiving together, Liam had said, as if that was a rule written in stone. I gave in. Told myself it was fine. One holiday. No big deal. I regretted it the moment we walked in. Catherine was waiting. She didn't even say hello. She just gave me a once-over, her eyes landing on the bracelet Liam had bought me in Florence. Oh, she said, tilting her head. Did you pick that out, Liam? Or did she make you buy it? It was so immediate, so effortlessly cutting, that I had no time to prepare a response. Liam just chuckled awkwardly, like she was joking. Like it wasn't a deliberate, barbed attack. And I saw it, then. I saw the game she was playing. She wasn't just trying to be close to her brother. She was trying to push me out. And worse. She was winning. Because Liam wouldn't stop her. Then came Christmas. That was the night everything changed. We had planned for it to be just the two of us. A quiet, cozy night. Our first Christmas as husband and wife. But then, around 8 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Liam got up to answer it. And there, standing in the doorway, was Catherine. With luggage. I figured I'd just stay here for a few days, she said brightly, stepping inside like she owned the place. I stood frozen. Waiting. Waiting for Liam to say something. To tell her no. To tell her we had plans, that it wasn't appropriate. But he didn't. He just scratched the back of his neck and said, we weren't really expecting company, not no. Not go home. Just hesitation. And that was it. That was the breaking point. Something inside me snapped. I walked straight to the bedroom. Grabbed my coat. My keys. Liam appeared in the doorway, alarmed. Where are you going? I turned to him, voice steady. Either she goes, or I do. His mouth opened. Closed. And that? That was all the answer I needed. The silence in our apartment after I said those words was thick. Either she goes, or I do. Liam just stood there. Frozen. His eyes flicked back and forth between me and Catherine, like he was trying to calculate the safest response. Catherine, on the other hand, was staring at me like I had just threatened her life. What? She finally sputtered, her voice rising. You're joking. I didn't even blink. I'm not. Catherine turned to Liam, waiting. Expecting him to side with her. I could see the hesitation on his face, the conflict churning behind his eyes. And I knew, he wasn't going to pick me. Not really. I took a breath, my chest tight. Liam, say something. He ran a hand through his hair. I just don't understand why this has to be such a big deal. A laugh escaped me. Not because anything was funny, but because I was so stunned by how he still didn't get it. She showed up uninvited on Christmas, I said, my voice sharp. With luggage. Catherine crossed her arms. We've always spent Christmas together. This is my brother. I don't need an invitation. I clenched my jaw. You do now. Liam shifted uncomfortably. Catherine, maybe, I cannot believe this. Catherine's eyes glistened with real tears, and I knew she was about to play the victim card. You're letting her come between us? The way she said her, like I was some outsider intruding on their perfect sibling bond. I'm his wife, I said, my voice quieter now. Not some random person who showed up one day. Catherine laughed, but it wasn't real. It was mocking. Right. His wife. The one who's been trying to isolate him from his family since the moment you said, I do it all. That was it. That was the moment I realized there was no getting through to her. I looked at Liam, one last time. Tell her to leave, I said, giving him one last chance. Liam hesitated. Again. And my heart cracked. Not all at once. Not in some dramatic explosion. Just a slow, quiet fracture that I knew would never fully heal. I nodded to myself. Then turned. And walked out the door. I didn't go far. Just drove to a friend's place, Maggie, someone who had been gently warning me about Catherine for months now. The moment she opened the door and saw my face, she sighed. Liam. Catherine. Maggie stepped aside. Come in. I sat on her couch, my hands curled into fists. The emotions were all over the place, anger, exhaustion, hurt, disbelief. Maggie handed me a glass of wine. What happened? I told her. Every detail. The airport meltdown, the honeymoon guilt tripping, the constant intrusions, and finally, Christmas Eve. By the time I finished, Maggie shook her head. Nora, this isn't normal. This is manipulative. Obsessive. I let out a long breath. I know. And I did. I knew. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. Maggie studied me for a moment. And Liam. I rubbed my temples. He won't pick me. Not really. Because picking me meant disappointing Catherine. And Liam was too scared to do that. Maggie was quiet for a beat. Then she said, you know what you have to do, right? I stared at my wine glass. My stomach felt heavy. I knew. I had known for a while. I just wasn't sure if I was ready. I stayed at Maggie's for the night. Liam texted me a few times, short messages. Where are you? Nora, come home. Let's talk. But the one that hurt the most was the last one. Catherine left. You can come back now. Like I was some petulant child throwing a fit. Like the damage hadn't already been done. I didn't reply. I needed to think. I needed to breathe. I needed to decide if I was really willing to live like this forever. Because if I went back, nothing would change. Catherine would still be his priority. And I would just be someone he tolerated in her shadow. The next morning, I drove home. Not because I was ready to forgive, but because I needed to see something. I needed to see if Liam understood what was happening. I walked into our apartment, expecting awkward tension. Maybe an apology. Instead, I found Liam at the kitchen counter, laughing on the phone. I knew, before I even heard the words, who he was talking to. Then I heard it, his soft voice, the one he only used when he was trying to calm someone down. I know, Kat. I know. But she just overreacted, okay? She'll get over it. I stopped in my tracks. Something inside me went cold. Overreacted. I'll get over it. He still didn't see the problem. He never would. I turned around and walked right back out the door. And this time? I knew. I wasn't coming back. I didn't cry on the way to Maggie's. I thought I would. I thought I'd have one of those moments, the kind you see in movies, where the woman stares at the road through blurry eyes, gripping the wheel, pulling over dramatically to sob into her hands. But I didn't. Because something in me had shut off. A switch had been flipped. I had spent years trying to reason with Liam. Trying to make him see what was happening. Trying to hold on to a marriage that I now realized had never been balanced to begin with. And for what? So he could laugh on the phone with Catherine right after I walked out? So he could dismiss me as an overreaction, a problem to be managed instead of a person he was supposed to love? No. That was done. But I wasn't just going to leave quietly. I was going to make sure Liam and Catherine felt this. Because they had spent years making me feel small. Dismissed. Replaceable. Now. It was their turn. I stayed with Maggie for a week. Didn't text Liam. Didn't answer his calls. And in that time, I got everything in order. Maggie, bless her, was fully on board with my plan. You spent too long bending over backward for him, she said. Time for him to learn what life looks like without you holding it together. So I started unpicking my life from his, thread by thread. The apartment lease? I had co-signed, but Liam's name was the primary one. I contacted the landlord and let them know I was removing myself. The joint bank account? I took my half. Nothing more, nothing less. Transferred it all to a new account. Our bills, subscriptions, utilities? All switched to his name. The best part? I did it all quietly. No warnings. No fights. Just, gone. And then came the final step. 1 week after I left, I went back to the apartment. Liam was sitting on the couch, looking exhausted. Nora, he said, standing up. We need to, I'm not here to talk, I cut in. My voice was calm. Measured. I just came to get my things. Liam blinked. Wait, what? You're moving out. Yes. His jaw tightened. So that's it? You're just giving up. I let out a small laugh. Liam, I gave this everything. You gave it to Catherine. His face flushed. That's not fair. No, I said, tilting my head. What's not fair is spending years playing second place to your sister. He opened his mouth, then shut it. Because what could he even say to that? Nothing. There was nothing he could say that would undo what had happened. I grabbed my suitcases, turned to leave, and then, right at the last second, I stopped. And I twisted the knife. Oh, I said, as if I had just remembered something. By the way, the bills, the rent, everything? They're all yours now. Liam's face fell. Wait, what? I took my name off. I smiled, but it wasn't warm. You're on your own. And with that, I walked out. And this time, I meant it. The fallout was immediate. Liam tried to call. Tried to text. The first few were angry, accusing me of being childish, selfish. But then came the desperation. Can we at least talk? Nora, I didn't realize how much you did for me. I need you. And the best one? I don't know how to handle all this without you. Because that's what it had always been, hadn't it? I had made his life easier. I had handled things. I had kept things running smoothly while he let Catherine walk all over us. And now he had to figure it all out alone. I didn't answer a single one of his messages. Not out of anger. But because I was done carrying the weight of his life for him. And Catherine? Oh, she hated this. I heard through mutual friends that she was furious. Not because she missed me, of course. But because without me, Liam actually had to deal with his own responsibilities, which meant he suddenly wasn't available to cater to her every whim. Her perfect setup? Ruined. Because I had been the buffer all along. And now? Now she had to compete with real life, bills, work, stress, all the things she had never had to worry about before. Liam couldn't drop everything to go to her house at a moment's notice anymore. Couldn't take her on trips. Couldn't play the role of the perfect big brother without consequences. And the cracks started to show. People started noticing how oddly close she had always been to him. Without me there to make it seem normal, without the marriage to justify why he was spending so much time with her, it became clearer and clearer. Mutual friends started backing off. Family started questioning things. The world that Catherine had built, where she was the center of Liam's life, was falling apart. And the best part? I didn't even have to do anything. I just left. And let them ruin it themselves. It took months for Liam to stop reaching out. And when he finally did, it wasn't with anger. It wasn't with desperation. It was just quiet acceptance. A single text. I get it now. I didn't reply. Not because I was bitter. But because I had nothing left to say. And I liked it that way. I never had to scream. Never had to fight. I just made sure they finally had to deal with the consequences of their choices, without me there to soften the blow. And that was the best revenge of all.